In this week's Woodfired workshop, we're going to be making this absolutely delicious Filo smoked salmon and leek tart. Stick around and join us to see the whole video. Hi everyone, welcome to this Woodfired workshop at Manna from Devon Cooking School, where this week we're going to be making a smoked salmon and leek tart. We're going to be using Filo pastry, some salmon that we smoked earlier in the week in the wood-fired oven. I believe we've got a video showing that somewhere else, and a little mix of vegetables. So we've got some leeks, some peppers and some peas. So I've got a pan in the oven already nicely heated up. You can see I've got the oven with the fire over on the left hand side. The oven is nicely heated through already, so I really don't need any fire in here, or maybe just a little bit of a tickling fire. So I can go straight in there with these leeks and peppers. And I want these to cook for a nice long time. Really for sort of 15, maybe even 20 minutes. So that we really cook them down and get rid of all of their moisture so they don't make our pie watery. I don't particularly want to put a lot of colour on these, so I just want them to cook gently. If I thought the oven was too hot, I'll have a lid available that I can put over the top, but as it is, I think it's going to be fine. I'm just going to make sure I stir it regularly. Whilst the vegetables are sizzling in the oven behind me, I'm going to start building up the layers of our pie, and I'm going to do it on a silicone sheet. And it's fantastic because it means you can cook almost directly on the floor of the oven. That gives us heat straight into the bottom of the tart, straight into the pastry, so we're never going to get a soggy bottom. As I said, we're going to be using Filo for this tart, and I've got it here kept under a slightly damp cloth. I don't want it to dry out. Already just melted here, I've got some butter. And then start to build up layers of Filo butter. And each Filo is going to get a little bit of a turn, so they're not going to be directly on top of each other, so that we end up with something almost circular to give us a circular tart at the end. As you can see, I'm not skimping on the butter. So the first layer I'm going to put on at kind of 90 degrees. Generously buttering in between each layer. The vegetables have been cooking now for about 7 or 8 minutes. As you can see, I did put the lid on because I thought they were just starting to brown here and there. But now they're beginning to get nice and soft, but they're still going to need another 7 or 8 minutes. So back into the oven. This tart could easily be cooked indoors in the domestic oven at around about 220, 230, nice and hot, so we crisp up the Filo pastry. And if I was doing that in one of my steel ovens, I'd have that running with a little fire, just being careful that I didn't let the fire get too high. Otherwise I might scorch the edges of the tart. Into here now I'm going to add some peas, some cream. I'm going to have a sprinkle of black pepper, or 2, nice sprinkle of black pepper, and some salt. And a teaspoonful of mustard, and I'm going to stir all of this together and then back into the oven to cook the peas and reduce the cream just a little. Our vegetables have had a few more minutes simmering with the peas and the cream. And as you can see, we've got a mixture which is got a little bit of liquid but is really quite dry. So into this now we're going to put some salmon, and as I mentioned, we smoked this salmon in the oven earlier in the week, and I want to break this up into fairly large flakes so that we've got some nice texture there. And I'm going to stir all of that salmon into the sauce so that it's coated with cream and mustard, and that will stop it from drying out when we bake the tart. Now I can put everything together. I'm going to use about half this mixture here, saving the rest for another tart. So that's the tart ready to go in the oven. I've got the oven heated through, as I say, with a bed of embers over on one side, pushed back by a fire retainer. Temperature there sitting at a nice sort of 3 to 4 Mississippi, and it will be sort of falling away from that a little bit in that oven. This tart, to crisp up the pastry, should take, I think, around about 10 or 15 minutes, not much more than that. Just for a little even baking, I'm going to put the door just loosely in place. I'm not going to put it on tight, because I think then the temperature would get a little bit too much. That's the tart in the oven. We've made this tart with chicken, we've done vegetarian versions, we've done cheese and leek, cheese and onion, all sorts of combinations you can make. Really fantastic way of using your wood-fired oven. And whilst that is cooking, a time to remind you, of course, that if you enjoy these wood-fired workshops, we do produce them on a regular basis, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get notifications about every time we produce a new one. And please give us a thumbs up, and if you've got any questions at all about any aspect of wood-fired cooking, please put a question below and we will answer it. So about 5 minutes into the bake, 5 or 6 minutes. We're going to give this a little turn round. We have got this bed of embers on one side. And so of course that's giving us an uneven temperature. So to avoid over baking one side of the tart, I'm going to give it a spin round and then give it another 5 or 6 minutes. The tart's had just coming up for 12 minutes. It's got a really lovely colour. How fantastic to bring that out of the oven for your guests, for your friends, for your family. I can smell the butter, I can smell the smoked salmon. Absolutely delightful. So there we are, Filo smoked salmon and leek tart baked in the wood-fired oven. Thanks for watching. See you next time.